right, we're back for another episode of the Bad Ideas podcast. Here with Nadia Stand, a multipreneur, co-founder, and mentor, which is super fascinating. Thanks for coming on, Nadia.
No, Nick, this is an incredible invite. I'm super happy to be here and excited to see that crazy idea that we're going to be talking about.
Hopefully, it's not too bad. We were just talking before the show about what you do on the mentorship side, which is really fascinating. Do you mind kind of telling the audience a little bit about what you do, how you help founders, and like the two very unique things you kind of combine into your mentorship?
Sure. So to talk about that, I think very quickly I'm going to say like my background. So I come from traditional finance, private equity, venture capital, like hard on finance, but I've always had this soft side and a passion for impact and empathy and connecting with people. And these two seem really disconnected. So for some time, I lived like two separate lives. And then after my master's in sustainability and social innovation, I decided to become an entrepreneur and started facing, I think, my biggest fears, anxieties, insecurities, like everything, like just crunched into one. Also with like a bunch of things going on in my personal life at the time. And I discovered, like, going through a lot of therapy and a lot of like learning and understanding what's going on in my mind, my body, my feelings. Like, as I was founding two companies, I
Always
realized
a
that
bad idea at the same time.
yeah, one of my companies really, like, when I say it out loud, it's like, this is everything you should not do. But I think that was why it was such a wonderful
If
experience.
it's in your heart, you got to do it. Yeah.
Exactly. So I realized that a lot of what really kept me through, like, becoming an entrepreneur and rediscovering who I was as an entrepreneur, not from the corporate side, like standing behind a big name of a fund, was really how I was redefining success in my life. And in doing that, I was learning to follow my intuition and connecting to that emotional side. And I needed extra emotional support in the ups and downs of being an entrepreneur. Because everyone who's listening has probably been there, and it sometimes feels like a very lonely path. So
It
all
is.
of that led me to learning about like more of the spiritual side of life. And so I trained myself in like several forms of alternative therapy. And I was like closeted about my spirituality until I started having friends, and some other entrepreneurs were like, hey, I want to quit my corporate job and I saw it worked out for you. I really want to follow my purpose, but I don't know how to do it. So I was like, wait, maybe I'm not the only one with this story.
Yeah.
And that's where this mentoring that's now called Success Journey Guidance, like that's my personal brand, Nadia Stant Success Journey Guidance. It's supporting and helping people connect their purpose, like their life purpose, like what their soul tells them that they're going to come here to do, with their own vision of success, with a lot of emotional support along the way. So this means like listening to yourself, like being like feeling, owning up to your own story, like understanding that the challenges you're facing are there for a reason, and how to walk through that with that emotional part and understanding, okay, maybe this issue that I'm having with a client, or the fact that I'm not making as much revenue as I planned to do, or that I had this wonderful master plan strategy and everything's like falling apart. Like, what's that telling me from my life? Like, what do I need to work on myself
What's
and my
missing? Yeah.
relationships around me, so that this all, like, everything's aligned, so that also flows. So yeah, that's the mentoring part. And I have a podcast right now about it also, but it's in Spanish, and I'm actually going to start doing one in English
Yes.
soon about it. But ultimately, is business connected to emotional support, and seeing how all of that is connected. And when we follow our true path,
Yeah.
and we do things in our own way, not how we're expected to do them, usually results are better, and usually results are, the path doesn't, the journey is not as troublesome as when you're like fitting into the
Forcing
norm.
it or trying to force it. Yeah. Have you
So
have
much
you read?
forcing, so much forcing.
Well, I mean that's the expectation, right? Like everyone tells you it's going to be so hard that you almost feel guilty when things surprisingly work. But
Exactly.
there's so
And you're
much good out
expecting
there.
it. You're
Yeah.
expecting it to be hard. It's like,
Yeah.
if it's not hard, then I'm doing it wrong. So
Exactly.
then hustle culture and hello
Hmm.
burnout, like, I mean, literally, I've been there. It's like, it shouldn't be this easy. Like even feeling guilty, like, why am I taking care of myself and going to yoga at 11 a.m. in the morning? I need to
Yeah.
work extra hard. So no, I mean, there's
Yeah.
other ways to live life.
Yeah. It's wild. It's wild. Have you read like Napoleon Hill at all?
No, no, I haven't.
He's kind of like the founder of like self-help business books. Think and Grow Rich is super famous. I think it's the best-selling business book of all time, but super old school. But he calls it infinite intelligence. He talks a lot about this like mind inside the mind, which is your subconscious or your spirit, however you want to look at it. But a lot of books talk about ways you can kind of tap into that instinct. You're calling it intuition to help direct your decisions. And there's have you heard of Jack Canfield, another author?
No.
He's the chicken soup for the soul guy.
Oh, yeah, of course. I
Yeah,
mean, I
yeah,
read that growing up like numerous times.
yeah,
Like my mom had her subscription, so I'd be like, "Oh, chicken soup for the soul."
yeah. So he has a book called The Success Principles, where he talks about how you can manifest like subconscious intuition in a physical form. It's a really cool like meditation where you stand and like ask yourself a question and you lean left or right to answer, and your body responds without your consciousness and coming. It's pretty wild. Highly recommend the book. But I don't know, just excited to meet someone who's actually doing this in practice, in entrepreneurship, and in business. And mostly excited to talk to you about this really bad idea that we're about to look at. You
Just
feeling? You
bring it,
ready?
bring it.
Ready to
Yeah,
jump in?
I'm honestly, I'm like very excited. Like I really want to know like what it is.
All right. Here we go. The bad idea for today is, oh God, uh, inflatable office furniture for rent. Save big on moving expenses.
Okay. Do we have pictures?
No pictures. We just have an idea. Like no
Okay.
execution has been done. This is somebody thinking. I'm sure they're thinking that it's probably pretty easy to sell. But the problem with a lot of these things is who's going to like. No one is going to repeatedly pay for inflatable office furniture. It's just like how are you going to make money doing that? They just go buy it themselves if they wanted to, and I don't know. What a weird office experience, right?
Well, I don't know, like it, of course the first time you read it out, it's like, oh, and my mind immediately went to like inflatable mattresses and thinking like
Mm.
it's such an awful experience to sleep in an inflatable mattress or like,
Yeah.
I mean, if you've ever slept in one, it's like it's not a great
Mhm.
night's sleep.
Yep.
Like they
No,
can
I
be
agree.
comfortable for a couple of hours and like that's great, but then exactly, and it's like you don't find yourself, and I was like, this
Yeah.
is so uncomfortable. Like why? But then I was like there could be something cool to it. There could really be something cool to it. And yeah, I mean, it's definitely out there. It's definitely not the typical thing you would want to do, but my mind immediately started going to like, well, this could actually work. And
Oh
this could actually
God.
like this could
Oh
actually like
God.
this could actually be cool. Like
You're an optimist.
maybe
Um,
I mean, I'm refreshed from a break. So maybe I'm like, we can make
see,
this work.
seeing the good in everything. Let me talk about some of the bad just in the beginning to lay it out there. So we need a buyer. So we need people who just rented an office space. So they obviously have some money. You're not signing a lease if you're broke. So you're not really, you're probably pricing the furniture into the lease to make sure that you're running
Wait,
your business the right
so I
way.
have but I have a question here. Is
Yeah.
it inflatable office furniture for rent? Is it because it could be seen two ways? Like
Mm.
it comes with the space you rent, or you have a space and you rent out the furniture, sort of like a membership, maybe. So which
Oh,
one
oh.
are
So
we
the
looking at?
Well, well, I think it's the same thing, right? It's the general concept of somebody renting office furniture that is inflatable. Does that make sense? So
Yeah,
like maybe the business is like a franchise where people can come and try it out, but they're renting it for their office. Um,
because
so
I agree. Like when you think traditional offices, you would say never inflatable,
mm,
but on the flip side, like I'm an entrepreneur who doesn't have an office, but
mm,
sometimes we organize events for a lot of people and we have to rent out spaces and we have to rent out chairs. So it's like
Oh
while I'm giving
man.
a workshop, what if I pay like, I don't know, these people, and then wherever I have a workshop going on, like they'll come and they'll set up the place for the workshop
Yeah.
and pick it up and they're gone. Like boom, like you come, inflate, set up, day after the event, like finish the event, deflate, and boom, you're out.
Look at this.
So it
So
could be, I
that.
mean, it depends on how we're, and I guess ultimately this would be like your business model, like your monetization model. Like how are you monetizing this? As a
Mhm.
membership or as a like with a partnership with, I don't know, space. So
Well, if I mean, it's flexible. First, I just want to point out to the show that you're the first person who's gotten to a good idea that fast on a bad idea. So this is a
oops.
little bit of a record for us. But I mean, that actually is a good idea when you think about it. When you rent space, like furniture is very expensive and movers are very expensive. So like, if the specific purpose of inflatable furniture was for flash events, maybe there is a market for that. That's pretty
I
optimistic.
think I'm
Nicely
biased because
done.
I'm literally thinking of how going to organize an event for like 20 plus people,
Yeah,
like construction workers.
yeah.
So, and I'm also thinking construction workers don't want something super fancy and elaborate. Like like they want to be comfortable. So I may be biased, but going back to how this wouldn't work in the traditional scheme. I agree.
Mm.
Like or it would be very hard for this to work. Like sell time, like your customer acquisition cost is probably going to be super expensive because you're going to need a long time to close like a deal with traditional offices. So this idea in a traditional setting, probably not great, probably not a
It's a
match.
bad
Like I
idea.
agree, I
It's a
agree.
bad idea.
Yeah.
I mean, just think, imagine an office full of inflatable furniture, and then people are trying to make phone calls, but they're hearing like rubber squirting in the background. But
Or imagine summer and it's like a little sweaty and then it's like
yeah,
I don't know, like this happened to me in yoga. Like it
you're
sounds like a
stuck to it.
fart. It sounds like a fart, but it's not a fart, like I swear. But it's just like you're a little sweaty against like the mat. So imagine like I don't know, you're closing a deal, like super important, and then you hear like it's like yeah, definitely that would definitely not be great.
Yeah,
Definitely not good.
yeah. You have
Um,
you have your Zoom background all set up, and then like an orange armchair pops up behind you randomly.
that's
Uh,
the other thing. Like when we think inflatable, I feel like we also associate this with certain colors.
mm.
So I don't know about you, but I immediately thought red.
Yeah,
And
orange.
that was, yeah, you thought orange. So it's like you don't want to see an office full of like red and orange, like for
Mhm.
sure. But what if you make it cool? Like neutrals. Like, I don't know, I'm a huge fan of
Office
neutrals.
furniture that looks like real furniture. Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
Inflatable
so
office furniture that looks like real furniture. Yeah.
And I don't know if you've seen these like like there's like this trend. I'm really big into like interior design and like have my TikTok is that. But there's these like new couches that are called like cloud couches.
Yeah.
They
Oh, they're like
literally look
inflatable,
like
right?
inflatable.
Yeah.
They're not
Yeah.
inflatable, but they look like
Hmm.
they're inflatable.
Hmm. Have you
So
sat on one?
yeah. But and
Yeah.
there's two type of like cloud couches. There's some that are like literally look like little clouds, like little balls put together, but then
Yeah.
others are just like fluffy,
Mhm.
like this type of texture,
Yeah.
and they're actually comfortable. So I mean, they're not inflatable; they're like wooden and like I don't know filler, like whatever you
We're
make a couch out of.
we're creating an
Um,
upsell here. We could have like textured inflatables, inflatable cloud couches. I think you're coming up with a product line now. So you've come up with a venue, you've come up with a buyer and a product line. I think we're like into entrepreneurship and starting a company.
we could.
Because supply would be cheap. I mean, buying the furniture would be really cheap. I think your idea of the event space is great because the only competing price is outright buying inflatable furniture yourself. So, if you can bake the service in plus the furniture for like 80% of the cost of new, you sell your furniture twice and you're up 60%.
Yeah,
It's not a bad deal.
I think this would all like going back to what you first mentioned. It's like who's your buyer? Like you really and like of course this is they always tell you this because it's very true. Like you have to know
Hmm.
your buyer. Like what's the buyer your like what does your buyer look for? Like, does he
Yeah.
look for adventure? Does he look for something exciting? Does he look for something practical and routine? Like, is it
Novelty.
practicity that they're looking for? Is it
Yeah.
novelty? And then that I feel is like how this could work if you like what you mentioned, like when you include the
Yeah.
service, like whichever add-ons you put onto this should be the part that personalizes and make this like a bespoke experience. And you could even make it luxury. Like you could even have like
Luxury inflatable.
luxurious high-end inflatable office. I mean,
Uh,
I live in Mexico City, so like Tuluminati vibes everywhere because
yeah.
I don't know. Mexico, apparently everyone wants to move here right now.
And they
Gentrification is
are.
huge.
Everybody's
Um,
there.
so I see this whole like because I feel like we're in a moment where what we talked about at the beginning, we're all realizing, I think, especially after COVID, that mental health really matters. So we want to be like aware of a more holistic vision on life or however you want to call it, but we want to be aware of both feelings and mind,
Mhm.
but we also like our comfort. So we could be onto something here. We could be onto something
Good.
here.
We'll talk about, we started the podcast talking about your work a little bit on the mentorship side. And we also made the comment on the beautiful natural light in your place. I think that the place you work, the place you choose to work, and the way you dress that up actually has a lot to do with your productivity, like how you
For
feel when
sure.
you're there. Do you help people with any of that, or help them kind of set up their focus space? Like any guidance there?
You're actually just giving me an idea of like, maybe I should do this. Like
Hey.
I do give guidance into like it's not specific, like it's not like a business line I have right now, but but
Mhm.
sometimes when this comes, like I always and this is something I did for myself and with some of the people I
Mhm.
work with, like we end up doing this. Like imagine your perfect creative space,
Mhm.
and I've also redefined work into like creation, and like when I'm working I say I'm creating, like I'm in creation
Mhm.
mode. So I want to be super inspired. And Big Magic, this book, like was it, I don't know if you've read it, Elizabeth
No.
Gilbert.
Oh, no,
She
no.
is the same one from Eat Pray Love. So basically, like in a nutshell, with no spoilers if someone wants to read the book, but it's ultimately creativity, like ideas choose you and they come to you for you to create
Mhm.
them. And it's basically how to get yourself into that mindset and that space to allow those ideas to come to you and for you to be able to materialize them and like bring them to life. Like that's my
Mhm.
take on it, but it's
Mhm.
basically it's all about creativity. So for me, creativity is very much like you can call it a hunch, a muse, inspiration. And she talks about how artists, this is mostly focused on artists, but my take is
Yeah.
like, as entrepreneurs, we're also
Everyone.
artists. Like we're creating all the time. We just
Have to
have to do
be.
it in a way that seems structured. So it's like, how am I creative, but make it sound very professional? Um,
Yeah.
so with that, I do this like exercise of like, how do I see myself like in my perfect day creating? And the apartment I live in right now, literally, it's like I saw this like it's like I want to look at trees when I'm creating because I know that nature like helps me feel more connected. Um,
Mhm.
and I have all of these crystals, like literally like for this is a citron. It helps communicate
Mhm.
clearly and in a way that you connect. So when I see that space, it's like, how do I feel in that space? Like, what's the like the energy, the vibe that I want to feel? Then it's like I want it to be lit, like literally well lit. So my desk is faced in a position where I'm looking at you here, but I'm also seeing trees. So whenever I'm feeling like in a meeting, it's like, oh, the trees are there. Okay, so I can
There
go
you
come
go.
back to my meeting, and
You're back.
I have certain things around me that help me get into that space. So I do advise like certain crystals, maybe certain smells, certain I'm
Mm.
also all about like the five senses.
Mm.
So and I love feeling comfortable. So
Mhm.
textures, smells, like that's super important to me to be more productive.
Mhm.
So I do like depending on what a person's going through, I'll advise them like maybe use this smells, like light a candle like with this scent, or have these essential oils, and that does take a lot of like part into. problem solving specifically, like when we feel like we're stuck, that's one of the most frustrating parts. Like having certain small tools. Some people say it's placebo. It's like you can call it placebo, you could call it energy, whatever you want. If it works for you, go for
Yeah,
it. Having certain
yeah,
plants around also helps.
yeah. I really like having places to walk in between, so I can my mind kind of resets when I stand up. So bringing it back to our inflatable furniture idea, maybe that slow deflation works in our favor. So over the course of the day, you have to get up and fill it in again, like reflate your chair, and that's your reset time
And it's
every two
also
three
good,
hours.
you can move it around. I
Mm,
mean, you could move it around much easier. It's like, I don't know, but sometimes when I feel like stuck in work, but you say you have to walk around, I need to rearrange. So sometimes I need to move this, and I start moving things around. I mean,
mm.
moving heavy furniture around is not easy, but inflatable, I mean, that can
You
work.
can move everything. You can move
Yeah.
everything.
Also,
So, so
so
go for it.
there's one thing that we're talking about here, and I feel like we both went immediately to like couches and seating.
Yeah.
But what about desks?
Inflatable desk just sounds like a bad idea, like a really
For
bad
me,
idea.
exactly. For me, that's, I mean, maybe it can work, maybe. Actually, like, I mean, my first instinct is definitely no. But
Hmm.
now that I'm thinking of, imagine if you had a desk that's like, of course, like flat, like it had to be like mixed, like a inflatable and non-inflatable part. But
Impartially inflatable.
yeah, I don't know if you've seen those like ADHD chairs that you move around. I don't know. My TikTok, apparently, maybe I have ADHD, undiagnosed
Yeah.
ADHD, but there's these chairs that you can move around so that you can sit very differently, like put your legs up, put them down, da da da. And sometimes I'm more creative when I'm sitting on the floor, and I could start like my creation process, like
Yeah.
just writing on the floor. So what if you could like, I don't know, like imagine like you have an actual desk, but you can like inflate so that it goes like higher, like you're sitting on the floor and then like you're sitting on a chair and then it's like higher up so you're standing and you can walk while you're having meetings. So
Like a
of course
standing
like,
desk. Well, so
but you
the
would need a
idea,
stable, like a
yeah,
stable like table.
situation. Yeah. I think the idea you're giving me, this is where the real value comes in. This is kind of sinister though. Um, you automate the inflation, so it can be remotely inflated or deflated, and then you give the manager control. So if someone starts to get a little lazy, you deflate them a little bit. Stay focused. I'm watching.
uh that feels a little intense. That feels a little intense. I mean, you had me at like automated, because
Yeah,
definitely it's like I don't want to be
yeah,
like every
yeah,
day, like
yeah.
either have someone unless you want to work out, like you want to like be there doing that, like okay. um but yeah, automated, like imagine if you had like an app and it's like I want to be sitting down, just like Alexa,
Deflate my
inflate my
chair.
desk.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's exactly.
that would be cool, that would be
we
cool.
we need Amazon to know the precise height at which we're all sitting at all times. That's a good idea. Um, I think it's interesting. So we like the event space idea. I think that's actually really good. It's temporary. Oh look, I got blurry. See, when I start to think, my mind refocuses the camera. This is my idea face.
That's
Um,
great, great.
yeah, we'll keep it. But yeah, the event space was great. Like you can get furniture in and out really really fast. You don't have to pay for a lot of movers. One guy could probably do the whole thing. And there's a market for it. People who want to furnish an event but don't really care about the way that it looks, or care less about the way that it looks. In the office itself, I think we agree that the desk is kind of not really there. Um, but there's some things to be explored with the furniture itself. Maybe for certain types of roles, it could be some sort of like creative stimulant or like refocus exercise or something along those lines. What do you think?
That's you, I mean, you literally, it's like you read my mind, because I was taught like in my mind it was this whole thing like, wait, what about creative spaces? And this may also sound like, I mean, I also see a sustainability angle on this, like, and I'll
Yeah,
go into that a little later. But in the creative part, like, it could be very interesting because I mean, I worked at a very traditional, like, financial institution, like very traditional, extremely traditional. And I was in
Lots of
innovation. So
inflated furniture, like everything
yeah,
was
definitely.
inflated, you know?
But we proposed having inflatable chairs and a
No
thinking
way.
space. Like
No way.
we went like, I mean, we needed something so disruptive. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, but these offices from like 80s, 90s that have like all the separators that are like glass, but they also have like this fabric and it always smells like really bad coffee. Like this was, I mean, this was the vibe. Or and the board meeting room was all like leather furniture. Everything was wooden. Like I'm pretty sure like you get the picture.
Yeah.
And we were thinking, like, one of the things we proposed is let's have like a thinking space, like let's have this like innovation like area where people can come to like solve their challenges. And of course we talked about having legos and like some like play-doh and stimulants that like are scientifically proven to activate your neuronal connections so that you are more creative in problem solving. And one of the things that works is what you said, like I need to get up and move. Like there's science
Mhm.
behind this. Like it's like when you see running water, like something happens, it catalyzes like neuronal connections. You're instantly, that's why we get ideas in the shower. It's like, oh, I have a great idea.
Because of
Um,
water. Interesting.
so when you change something in your natural setting, your brain says, oh, I'm in a different scene. So it can be something as taking your watch off and putting it in another hand. Like those are very simple things. But when you go to a different space and you sit and you feel a different texture, like this also helps you be more creative. So we talked about having these like bean bags and inflatable. I mean, I had an inflatable, I'm thinking about this. Like I had an inflatable chair growing up in my room. Like I was that teenager, like Teen Vogue in my inflatable
I
chair.
had no way of knowing this. There's no way I could have researched any of this. This just happened.
I had forgotten about that. Like also, so I am thinking like there could be a market, and it depends on how you sell this. So if you sell this to like super traditional, like and I'm thinking banking. Like I'm also biased. Again, I'm thinking finance. I'm thinking banking, and since everyone wants to be sustainable and innovative, and I mean you could sell this in the sense like we'll set like the services will set up a thinking room for you. Like we'll
Mhm.
come in if you're doing, I don't know, like a specific project and you want some people to get out of their daily routine, like you could come in and set up like a pop-up space. It could be like a pop-up thinking room, like a
A
pop-up
blow
think
up
tank,
space. It's called the blow up space now.
a
Yeah.
blow up space. So this could actually work if you, I wouldn't say like it's 100% inflatable, but like if you have certain couches and then you bring in other elements that are like literally with a science behind design to like
Yeah.
stimulate creativity, this could really work. And the sustainability angle I'm mentioning is if you want to see if something works out, you could rent this furniture instead of buying. So you're technically reducing waste. And when you rent it, like you're promoting circular economy. So what you're
Mm.
using, once you stop using it, someone else will take advantage of that. So it's not this
Mhm.
like consumer, like we're changing consumption patterns while we do this. So
Mhm.
I mean, we could brand this also, and I'm not talking greenwashing, but like genuinely, if there's like if the founder has a real purpose of, I want to reduce waste and I want to reduce, I don't know, taking down trees to make furniture, we could use inflatable furniture made out of recycled polyester. I'm not sure, like. So this could be very sustainable if there's like a real
Yeah.
passion to make
Well,
it sustainable.
your modular or constantly changing in flux, we'll call it, creative space, I think is an awesome idea for sustainability because not just inflatable furniture could be there, but you could just rotate in like things that people were getting rid of. You could go pick up their furniture, either make new furniture out of it, rehab it, and every 2 weeks you could refresh somebody's creative space. That's a business that's actually got some value for it because you have this room that's evolving in the office and it's different every couple of weeks, and you got to experience it now because it's going to be different. Um,
And you
that's
mentioned
really cool.
something like, how do we ensure that this business has like a stable income? Because you mentioned like people are not going to like buy this consistently. if there's a sense of novelty that it's consistently changing and like you're switching it up, you can buy a membership. And like as a
Or
company,
a
you would be
subscription,
paying
yeah.
for like it's a monthly or quarterly subscription where like every time there's a new season or every time we have something going on in our company, like we'll have a different space. And you're paying
Mm.
for maintenance and redesign of the space. Like someone making sure
Hmm.
like, oh, someone broke it, like
Yeah.
let me patch it up for you. Like someone on call like, hey, I have another hole, like so that it's not someone who has no idea how to fix this. But if you like
You have a
if you
service team
package
around it.
this exactly,
Yeah.
if you package this with like, and you can do a lot of add-ons like basic subscription. And I think this is something that really works with subscriptions, and for some reason we we are not seeing as many subscription models with things like that
Physical.
are like
Yeah.
actual things. Like we're not, I feel like we still have a huge opportunity in this. Like there's a lot of market space for this. But you can have like a basic subscription that's just like bringing in the furniture. And then an add-on could be redesign. And then this could be like your pro subscription. Another add-on could be maintenance. Another add-on could be like, we could even do like, if we go into the creative line, we could even do like, I'll do a monthly workshop for you. Like I'll teach you tools to incentivize creativity. And it becomes like, and the company doesn't have to do everything. The company can just partner up. I mean, that's a lot of, like another thing that
Yeah.
I've fallen in love with sustainability, and it's collaboration trumps competition. Like the power of collaboration is so much stronger. Like we have this
Hmm.
idea that as founders in a company, we need to do everything. Maybe this founder only focuses on the furniture. Maybe they don't even make the furniture. Like maybe they find like a sustainable provider. But you could partner up with a creative agency. You could partner up with interior design agency.
Office cleaning services. You could add this as an
Exactly.
add-on. Yeah.
So
Get the
you
distribution
start
going.
partnering with other and you start creating a hub, and it can become like the blow up creative hub.
Ah,
I
all
mean,
right.
there's the
We have
ways of
we have a
making it
business
work, I
name.
think.
We have a business name for this company now.
And
Right.
for
I
sure not
mean,
red and orange.
yeah. No, well, I kind of like the red, but we'll keep that between us. Um, this is by far the most positive, and we got the good stuff in like a minute and a half. That's crazy. It probably speaks to your energy. You're finding good in everything. So I think if people have really bad ideas, they should come to you before they come to me. Make sure it's not secretly a good one. How do people find you if they want to connect with you or learn about what to do?
Instagram at Nadia Stand, or email nadiastand@gmail.com. They can definitely hit me up through that. They're probably going to find a lot of things in Spanish right now, but after this trip, I've realized that maybe I should do a little bit more things in English. So my website's also going to be up in English in a couple of weeks. Maybe when this airs, it's already in English. So nadiastan.com.
There we
So
go.
website, Instagram, and well, threads. Also, people do threads if that's your thing. But yeah, email definitely
That,
there. LinkedIn also, feel free to like look me up.
yeah, awesome, awesome. We'll get a link out when this goes live. Hopefully, it coincides with the site. And I was super grateful to have you on. Thank you for all the positivity and the insight in you and your business. I hope a lot of folks who watch come and find you, and would love to have you back on soon. This is it's a lot of fun to do with you.
Definitely loved this, and I even got to like trust me. I'm thinking of inflatable like nice things for this event that we're organizing. So maybe this wasn't such a bad idea after all.
All right, good, good. Thank you so much. Great to have you
Thank you,
on.
Nick.